Nostalgia hoops, nostalgia sports and culture. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in. New segment. I want to call this segment "Bridging the Gap," where I bring two fan bases together, my WNBA crowd and my NBA crowd. So I combine two topics: a WNBA topic and an NBA topic. As you know, the NBA has turned to season wide. We always got news. Right now, the trade talks is heating up, and we got Draymond demanding a max. But I want to start off. If you haven't finished watching or haven't watched the first video about the Commissioner's Cup, I covered the first half, but had to come to the house and finish the second half. So I couldn't figure out how Asia dropped 17 points, 17 rebounds, six blocks, and two steals. Hold on, my phone blowing up right now. Two steals, and how she didn't win MVP and two assists. I seen some comments on Twitter. Some people like, "Oh, she took over in the second half, and this, and that." So I'm expecting like she didn't win MVP, so I'm expecting an explosion from Gray, like something crazy. Like maybe it had got down to 2 points, and Gray just went crazy, hit the final shot, or just something amazing. Because to not win MVP with that stat line is just it doesn't make sense on any level. But I think we've gotten to the point where we don't respect anything but scoring, or we don't respect anything but offense, because even on a 2K level, you'll see like a full stat line, like say at halftime 15, 10, 4 assists, 4 blocks, and a steal. And then somebody will have 25. And the person with 25 and let's say one assist, they'll get player of the half. But if you like, who's really having the more all around impact? And I think 2K needs to address that on the next 2K23, because you're putting in the mind of the next generation, because you have a lot of young gamers. I'm sure it's balanced now because millennials are older, but you have a lot of young gamers, and this is what they will equate to impact. And they'll discard rebounds, they'll discard blocks, they'll discard defense, anything except scoring they'll discard. And I don't think that's a right way to, I guess, groom the next generation of hoopers, to groom the next generation of analysts, or to groom the next generation of people that will be voting for these awards. It just doesn't make sense. Like, 6 blocks is not something to sneeze at. That's showing you that she's doing it on both ends and still being just as impactful offensively. Now, Gray did have a plus 13 plus minus, and I guess that's what the analytic people will look at. But I also see 5 assists from Gray, but I also see 5 turnovers. So it's like, yes, she was having an impact. Yes, she was solid, 19 points, 4 rebounds. Make sure we look at her for that line too. 1 steal, 1 block. But I just don't see on what planet she was the MVP, because the first half I didn't really see her like that. I mean, towards the end when the first unit went out, but they had already ran away with the lead. Like Plum had, what, she scored 12 points in the first quarter. So her, Chelsea Gray, from what I seen, it was the run where Don Stanley kept, oh, North Philly, when Copper kept doing her thing, and they were kind of going back and forth for a little bit. And that's solid. That's respectable. I like the pace. I like how Chelsea Gray controlled the pace. That's something underrated that I think a lot of people miss too. You might just see the surface, but you don't see the guard kind of slowing things down. And one thing I would like Plum to pay attention to, how she slows the pace down, because when that defense kind of press Plum, she kind of stays at that one fast speed. But Gray, she couldn't get sped up by the defense. So that's something that I did like from her. Again, it's not a knock for Gray. She's solid player, solid all around. But I think it was more of a participation trophy given to her for that MVP because she didn't make the All-Star game. And I think this was like kind of, the league saying, "Oh, we respect you, but you don't have to do this to respect somebody." I don't think this is needed. And I also seen a lot of people not a lot. I seen one person in particular saying like, Don Staley was just pointing out Asia, and somebody else could be MVP too, but yeah, somebody else could be MVP if they put up the numbers like Plum did in the All Star game. Nobody's arguing with that. But if she has 17, 17, 6, 2, and 2, only one turnover, I just don't understand. It's something I'm missing. And, maybe somebody can let me know what I'm missing, but I just don't see where was this big impact because Asia, I think she had 11 rebounds for like 6 minutes to go in the fourth. So that showed you she was still getting it in and battling all the way down to the end, even with the blocks. I think it was like 1 minute or something when she got the last few blocks. So this is somebody doing it on both ends, running up and down the floor as a big, still giving you buckets, still getting offensive rebounds, and getting disrespected with not getting the MVP. You cannot do this. This is not the proper way to promote the league. You don't disrespect a former MVP like that. You don't disrespect the statue, the one that built the house in South Carolina. And this is another way I just look at as a slight to a future Hall of Fame black player that's gonna be in that GOAT conversation, and you just taking one accolade away from her, and that's how I see it. I think everything is a long play. Some people are like, "Oh no, you tripping or it's just coincidence." No, I think it's something just to take away because we know when you talk about that GOAT conversation, every little thing will be counted, and this is one thing on that resume that y'all took away from her. It's not right. It's not right. I think it needs to be addressed. I think all of those the people who voted or however this is decided, they need to stand on it publicly so we can know who they are, and maybe they need to be suspended the next time it comes finals MVP voting or something like that because it's just not right. I mean, you can't show the stat. Just go show the stat line to anybody any age that understands basketball, and they're going to point at you. Be like, who's the MVP? They're all going to point to Asia. And then you go watch the game, and you be like, all right, maybe you can't just tell it all from the stat line. Maybe she did something incredible to seal this game. I mean, Gray did something incredible to seal this game, and you're not going to see that. So I'm disappointed with that. But shout out to the Aces for getting it done, 93-83. This game wasn't as close as it looked. Again, the Sky's a veteran team, and this it is if it is the championship, this will be the battle of eras. You got the Golden State fast paced running gun era. Only difference is they bring that third quarter barrage avalanche that Golden State brings. They do it early on, first quarter, hit you right in the mouth, and you have to find a way to weather that storm. And if any team can do it, as we seen earlier in the season, Chicago can do it. But I think it's going to be tough to do it over a series, especially being conditioned the way this team has shown that they are conditioned. So I want to move on and transition to, as I was speaking about defense, Draymond Green. I think his impact might be getting disrespected in the media right now. I know a lot of people in media is hating on him because he's standing on new media. He's standing on just bringing like a breath of fresh air, not those old takes. Stepping outside of the box, he feels like he has a unique perspective because he played the game, and I think Draymond views his impact at the same level as Steph Curry. And at one point, I was on the team like, man, they could get rid of Draymond and still be successful. They got this guy, and this guy. But the more and more, if you really pay attention, just like Draymond doesn't look like himself when he didn't play with Steph and Clay, if you watch those games down the stretch when Steph had to play without Draymond, he's not the same Steph Curry. Like Draymond allows everybody to get comfortable. He's that tough guy. Like I even remember when I used to play. Like it, my guy Jareem. Uh, Crazy. So Styles keep following me. Friend of mine, Styles, he keep following me. And Dream like, man, stop following us, stop following us. And he followed me one more time, and Dream just get boom, 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 boom. But Draymond is that same type of mentality. It's like protect your best player. The same way you have in the rap industry where it's always like protect the bag. Draymond understands you're not gonna play with Steph Curry. He's the guy. I'm gonna talk crazy to you, get in your head because basketball is not just about what you can do, your capabilities. It's about can you handle that pressure, and he's the one to turn the heat up. So I think even though his play is declining, his IQ and that extra thing that you bring to the game, that heart that kept AI going to the hole with all the Giants getting knocked on the ground and willed them to that one game, stopping the Lakers from going undefeated, being the first team to ever do a Kobe Shaq. He's the edge that you need to win a championship. The Cavs need a Draymond Green. I think Detroit could use a Draymond Green. I think with what is it, Bridges, Miles Bridges, with him going down, I mean, with that case, could LaMelo use Draymond? Like, I think Draymond is something that you want around your young players. He's going to help the development of Kaminga and Wiseman. And I think he understands that even though he had that game where he got benched, he came back. And I think that closeout game, he had a very solid game made up with some veteran plays down the stretch. And it's just hard not to pay a player like that because he makes Steph comfortable. We understand Steph can carry, but sometimes you need that just dog that's gonna make sure everybody is comfortable and sometimes say what somebody else who is afraid to say. Like Steph and Kevin Durant never would have criticized nothing about each other. They just want to get along. And sometimes it's like that when you really cool with somebody and you playing, ain't nobody you trying to go out there, have fun and just keep the environment cool. But Draymond will say the uncomfortable thing that needs to be said to help push the team forward. And that's just something that's not going to show up on the stat book all the time. You're just not going to see a player's impact. And as much as I used to hate on Draymond and think that Golden State could get rid of him, I just think you have to pay him because he's that seatbelt for Steph Curry. He's the engine. He's the security blanket. And Clay is declining, and you have these young players that you're going to have big expectations for in the future. You want Wiseman playing the game. Now, none of these guys are vocal leaders. None of these guys are going to be able to replace what he does as far as that heart, that thing that you can't point to, but in the big moments you can see. So I just think without Draymond, you can kind of see a decline in his team, and you'll maybe see Steph Curry more uncomfortable than you used to seeing, especially in the big games. And there's very few players like that in this league. I'm not even sure who you could go get just off the top to replace him. So, but if Golden State didn't pay him, I would say Detroit. It's an area he's from. He's comfortable with. Michigan State guy. I think the area will embrace him. That toughness. He'll bring back that bad boys Pistons era. Cade Cunningham, Jay, and they drafted some big guys too. And you got rid of Jeremiah Grant, so he'll fit right in. Um, Charlotte, they're not paying anybody else outside of Hayward right now, so you can put him there, get rid of Hayward, and he'll teach those guys how to win. And it was one more team that I felt like Draymond would be good on. I wouldn't be mad at him with the Cavs, but that wasn't one of the top. It was one more. It was Detroit, Charlotte. Hold on, let me pull up ESPN real quick. Because there's one more team I think he could have a good impact on this young. But it would be more so teams that have young players that you want to be, hold on, successful down the line. But I'm trying to see. Let me see. NBA. ESPN, y'all gotta fix y'all app too, bro. This is trash. I should be able to get right to NBA teams like when I'm on a website. I can't find it right now. I'll probably come back and just do a whole video with that because I don't really know. Oh, Portland. Yeah, yeah. Portland wouldn't be bad either. I wouldn't be mad at Portland. The link in the chat too. I wouldn't. Hold on, let me see if is you backstage. No. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at Portland. I just don't know if they had the bread because they gonna have to pay Jeremiah Grant. They just paid Dame a crazy amount of money. So my only thing I was pointing to the teams with young players before they pay them, you can kind of bring Draymond in to kind of run a mentorship program to just show them how to win before you have to end up paying those guys. So he want 5 years, 100 and I think 73 million. I think when I did the math, it was like 31 million a year. So it's gonna be tough, a tough pill to swallow. I know Joe Lacob don't want to pay the luxury tax. He was just on the Point Forward podcast complaining about that. But I think if you don't pay him, what do? You just let Draymond walk, and then what? So it's just too tough. I don't think I can let him go. But those are some of the options, and if Portland can figure out a way to pay him, that's not a bad idea either. Nostalgia hoops, nostalgia sports and culture. I'm out.